Hello, everybody. Randy Patterson here again with Boomerocity. Boy, do I have a big treat for you. I'm the interview you're about to see is with none other than Roger Earl, drummer and co-founder of Foghat. Wow. I mean, if you're a baby boomer, you grew up listening to that great iconic hit, Slow Ride, and all their other great songs. Just a hard driving rock and roll blues type band. Oh my gosh, the memories with that band are phenomenal. The musical memories, especially. But what a thrill it was for me to be able to talk to Roger today. And we had a lot of fun, very engaging, very British, and living up in Long Island. So we had a great chat. We're talking about their new album that's coming out, as you can see here, called Sonic Mojo, out in November. And this was recorded in very early October. And so we got to talk about the new album. We got to talk about Slow Ride. We got to talk about his late great friend and blues great, Kim Simmons, who we've interviewed here on Boomerocity a couple times. So anyway, I think you're going to really love this chat. And as always, I ask if you would to please subscribe to whatever channels you listen to this or watch this on. Please like the page, the interview, and share it with your friends. Ask them to do the same. It doesn't cost you anything, but it helps us out tremendously. So without any further ado, here is my first of what I hope are many more interviews with the great Roger Earl of Foghat. Until next time, this is Randy Patterson with Boomerocity. Take care.
Good morning, Randy. How you
the
doing?
heck are you? I'm doing great. I'm doing great.
What a fantastic background.
You're just biased.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I have a little bias on that one. Hold on. Let me fill that in.
Oh, right. Yeah. I need to get a physical copy of that. Maybe signed by you. Who knows?
You got it. I will talk to the manager at the moment. Manager?
Yes.
Randy needs a signed copy from me.
Okay, I'm taking a picture of this cool background.
Now I know who the real boss is. So,
okay.
Well, Roger, first of all, before we get down to business, I want to thank you for first of all, for joining me today. And it's a huge thrill and pleasure for me because of the second thing I want to thank you for, and that is all the years of phenomenal music that's been, part of the soundtrack of my life. And I have to tell you a true story. I was, I have a day job, so to speak, but years and years ago, I was in the high-tech industry, actually telecommunications. I was at a training seminar, and, or that's a redundant phrase. I was in some training in a class, and it was one of these kind of self-help type of things. And the leader of that class was a huge, huge Foghat fan. And I don't know how many times during that week-long class that he played Slow Ride. I mean, and I can't remember now. He actually had a tie-in to it, and it was an expensive class too. I hope you got some. I hope you got some royalty payment from this.
We get fractions of a penny.
Yeah.
In fact, I didn't know that you could chop a penny up so many times.
Yeah.
Say shavings. We get shavings of a penny.
Yep. Yep.
That's right. No, it's a classic rock and roll tune, and the fans love it. I mean, a couple of times they say, "Can you play Slow Ride?" What, you want to come right at the very beginning of our show? No, it's like, it's come on.
Play it to the end.
Actually, we're up to an hour and 45 minutes now with the show. The other day I said, "What's wrong with this picture? I should be slowing down by now."
Well, quite writing more great music. Just stop it and stick with what you have, right? So
we got a couple of in the East Coast. We're doing a record release party at the Iridium Theater in New York City. And we're having a release party in San Juan Capistrano at the Couch House in California. And so we've added 3 of the new songs to the set, and now it's up to 145 minutes, I'm saying. And then we're talking about adding more songs. I don't want to do 2 hours. That's work. No, it's not work. I play, I don't work.
There you go. Well, I know you and your peers I think you're showing those coming up way behind you how it should be done, and they're not doing it. You know, you do real music, really live, not lip syncing, not auto tuning. And last week I was at a Chicago concert, over 2 hours,
Great
and
band.
yeah, and I mean, still note perfect, and so you guys are showing the up and coming generations of artists. Now, you do use that term loosely for a lot of the people, really how it should be done and how it is being done, so they have no excuses. Now, there's exceptions, Joe Bonamassa,
Right.
people like that. And I'll be talking to him later today, in fact.
Oh, good. Yeah. Great singer, great guitar player. And really his arrangements to basically classic blues tunes are fantastic. No, I mean, his arrangements, the way he plays, yeah, he's something else.
Yeah, he's otherworldly, that's for sure. That is for sure. So thank you for all of that, though. Thank you for being you. Thank you for the great music and for all these years and stuff that'll stand the test of time and is standing the test of time. One other non-music related question, though, is how's the post-pandemic treating you, and what are you seeing permanent changes as a result of that as compared before the lockdown?
But the lockdown that was pretty weird. That was about as strange a time as I've ever been through. Now, I've been through one or two. Basically, I had a vacation. I haven't had a vacation since I was like 12 or 14 years old. Really, no, I mean, it was like I play. And I had 2 years. I did the garden, ate the vegetables in my garden before the deer and the raccoons could get at it. I couldn't see family and friends. My daughters would come over and stand at the other end of the garden and wave. I went fishing. And my girlfriend and my wife are like, it was great. My manager didn't have that much to do either. So I had the perfect sort of holy trinity.
There you go. Now, where do you live in the U.S.? Which state?
Long Island, New York, on the North Shore near Port Jefferson.
All right, gotcha.
Yeah, it's beautiful here. I first came here back in 1968, 69 with my first tour with Savoy Brown. Mm-hmm. And I became friends with a guy called Tony Otita, who later became our manager. And I talked to him about going how I like to fish. And he said, "You ever caught a bluefish or striped bass?" I said, "No." He said, "You want to?" I said, "Yeah." So I went to stay at his parents' house out in Rocky Point on Long Island, went fishing, caught my first bluefish, and I said, "I like this place. Big sandbar, but I'm very comfortable here. I know a lot of people, a lot of good friends, and a lot of good times here. No, this is home."
Good deal. Good deal. Well, I'm talking to you from East Tennessee. I live in the Smoky Mountains that Paul McCartney and the Beatles sang about. So way down south.
I have a friend who lives in Tennessee, Columbia, Tennessee, Scott Holt, our lead singer and guitar player.
It's funny you should mention that. When I first launched Boomerocity, I saw that name. I thought, why? I mean, I know the band, of course, but I was thinking, but there's a reason why Scott's name's sticking out. And I thought maybe I interviewed him. And so I looked back and no, it wasn't that, but it was back 14, 15 years ago when he did his side project with Kazoo, and I reviewed the album, and that for some reason that just stood out in my mind, I guess because of the the name of the band and such. And I honestly thought I had interviewed him, but I don't see where I have anywhere. And tell him I did review that album when you talk to him next. So
yeah, I'll be seeing him 2 days from now. Scott is a fantastic addition to the band. I met Scott about in 2014. Back then, we decided we needed a stand-in for everybody in the band because, and we were doing like 70 or 80 shows a year. And sometimes, if you got sick or whatever, instead of canceling a show, because the promoters, you cancel a show at the last minute, everybody loses money and it's not good all round. So
right.
we were at a point in our lives where every now and again, we have visits to the hospital and stuff. So everybody had a stand-in. And he was recommended as a stand-in for our lead singer at the time, Charlie Hume, great singer. And he had about 2 or 3 months. He learned a bunch of songs, and he came down to our studio in DeLand, Florida, and we played for about an hour and a half. And Craig McGregor was playing bass, and we had a blast. And that was the beginning of a long and beautiful and fruitful friendship. Now, I love playing with Scott. He's he cut his teeth playing with Buddy Guy for 10 years, so you know the man can play.
Yeah. how that's about as good as it can get, huh? So
yeah, right. That was his teacher.
Wow, very cool, very cool. Well, please let him know that there was a guy in that actually reviewed that album and loved it, and I'm going to have to dust it off and play it again. So. But speaking of albums, I love the cut off of this new one, man. It's new and fresh and yet very classic. I love when you and your peers come out with new music and it sounds like it sounds new and fresh yet very comfortably familiar. And that, to me, that's an art, that's a magic talent that you and people like you do. And so tell me about this album, the song and the album, because it's coming out when? November?
November 10th.
Yeah. Okay. So we're a little over a month from now. We're October 2nd today. And so I love the cut. So tell me about it and the album. What's the story behind it all?
Well, we started, we usually get a record out every sort of 3 or 4 years. We've done a number of live records, but the last studio album we did was Under the Influence, and Tom Hambridge, great producer, produced that because we wanted to give Brian Bassett, our lead and slide guitar player, a break, because he's produced and edited and engineered all our albums up to this point for the last 20 odd years. And we go down to our studio in Florida, January, February, March. We change the set. We try and get 4 or 5 songs from other albums in the set, and we record. We put down stuff. We just jam. Somebody has a set of lyrics. We sit down and work on that. It's a real comfortable way of making music. I shouldn't really say comfortable because you want to be a little bit edgy, but it's fun. We have a really good time. We sit in our living room. We have all the equipment set up. There's the kitchen right next to us, and the studio is off to the side. And we make music. And then when we think we've got something, we say, Brian, could you run the tape? It's not a tape anymore. But I have a great time making records now. But last year, when I did some of the basic tracks, I'd torn my rotator cuff, actually my muscle up here, and it sort of dropped down. And so I played most of the songs like with it taped up. But hey, what's wrong with a little pain for a drummer, right? No, it's been a lot of fun making this record. And often what we would do, we would jam on riffs, or like Scott would start singing a song, and we would just play. I'm having the time of my life. I really am. I'm loving every moment playing with this band. They're really, really cool people. They never moan. It's like, sometimes, we have, 2, 3, 4, 500-mile drives overnight. Nobody moans. I said, can I drive? It's like, no, it's fun. I refuse to grow up.
It's highly overrated, isn't it?
Yeah.
So how long you said you started on it last year, about how long did it take you from, all right, I'm going to start on a new album, to it being in the can and ready to start being pressed?
Yeah. Once we decided, what would happen is, because we are our own studio, so we record over a long period of time. And in fact, when we figured that we need to do a record like, a studio album as opposed to a live stuff, which we're always doing. And then Brian Bassett, our lead and slide guitar player and engineer and producer, started going through the stuff that we've done over the last 2 or 3 years. And all of a sudden we've got like 4 or 5 songs that we go, wow, I don't remember doing that. And we go, do you know who played bass on it? No, Brian did. No. And then we go through the stuff that we'd already done. And then we have like about at least a dozen other songs that we will, with ideas, lyrics, riffs and stuff, we stuff from, we do a sound check somewhere and like Brian or Scott would start playing something, say, that sounds cool. Anybody record that? And, somebody as the phone and goes, yeah, I got it, Rog. It's all right. No problem. And then we have to go through that, all the bits and pieces, but it's fun. I mean, I really enjoy it. And then we put something to it. We did some classic, tunes. We did a Rodney Crowell song. I'm a huge Rodney Crowell fan. Mm-hmm. We did one of his songs on one of our other albums, In the Mood for Something Rude. Ain't Living Long Like This. We did that. And we got a new one, which we changed considerably. Let's see, what is it? Song for Light. It's a fantastic song, but I hope Rodney likes it. Did you send a copy to Rodney Crowell?
Did I what?
Okay. But I talked to him as well, and he said to me, when we did one of his songs once before, he said he wore it like a badge of honor that Foghat had done one of his songs. Really cool guy. I talked to him, and I was in the area down in Nashville. He lives down there somewhere. And I invited him over to Scott's. He has a record store in Columbia that he works with. And Rodney was busy, unfortunately, but a great songwriter and artist. I mean, really is. So maybe we should do a Rodney Crowell. Foghat does Rodney Crowell.
I think it's a great idea. Recorded in Columbia, just south of Nashville. So,
right. Yeah, he's on tour actually. When I saw that we're doing a record release party in California, and he was on the bill. He's playing, I think, a week before us, unfortunately. But yeah, great singer, great songwriter, great songwriter.
Well, speaking of the tour, I was devastated to find out you're not playing anywhere near me. What's up with that, Roger?
Not my fault. We just get a date and we decide if we're flying or driving and take it from there. This year we did about 60 dates. Normally we do between 60 and 70. But it's been a lot of fun. And it's been really, really busy here. The record coming out. Our manager has put together a whole team of 4 or 5 different people, promoting the record. So, it's changed from what it used to be like. I mean, we used to sell millions of records. Now, if we sell 10, 20 or 30,000, we're happy. But the real thing is just to keep the band's name out there, that we're still viable. We still play music. And people come and have a good time when they see us.
Well, and I'll add one more thing you didn't say, but I'll say it for you. And you still sound good, and that's a big thing. There's some acts that, not naming any names, but I love them, but they need to stay home or do something behind the board or something, because it's not there. And I would never, shame them publicly or anything, because I love them dearly, but it's just, there's some acts that just need. We have
really, really good people working with us. We have a couple of sound engineers, that work with other bands as well, because we're only working, maybe once or twice a week, and but they're the best. We have a great crew. They just work tirelessly, and my drum tech plays percussion. He played percussion on the album, and we were doing some shows. This was maybe a year or 2 ago, and I said, "You want to play percussion?" He's also a drummer and a guitar player, so he said, "Yeah." So we have a percussionist now, which is really good. He's got a great voice as well. So
Cool.
get everybody in. Maybe we need some chick singers.
Yeah, I think you have somebody there that probably can fill that bill, right? So
Nothing wrong with having a couple of women around.
just curious, this wasn't on my list of questions to ask you, but what line of drums do you play? Which brand? What's your
DW, Drum Workshop. Made in America for Americans, but they let foreigners use them. They're all handmade. Everything is handmade. The drums, you can get drums. Each drum has a sound, the timbre of the drum, where you hit it, it's got a note. There's A flat, B, C, whatever. You could actually have the drums in tune. You know, if you say I want A, B, C, D in my toms, they could do that for you. I don't know how long that would take, but DW make the best drums in the world as far as I'm concerned. They're incredible to play. And I often use my own drums when I can, but the backline companies supply a DW drum kit to my specs. I bring my own pedals on the road. I use DW pedals, and I bring my own cymbals, and I bring my own snare drum. But other than that, drums, usually takes maybe 20 minutes or so to tune the drums. They put new heads on them, and it works. And the real good thing about that is we don't have to go out on the road in a bus for like months on end.
Yeah.
You just do like a couple of shows a week. So, fly in the day before, do the shows, then fly out, come home for a couple of days, recharge the batteries. The life is good. We've got it down.
Good deal. Well, speaking of DW, Rob Shanahan's their go-to photographer for any of the signature lines. He's also Ringo's personal photographer and does some photography and things like that. But yeah, he does all the big name shots, and you probably bumped into him a time or two. But great guy, and lots of stories.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm not sure if I remember the name, but I'll try and remember it.
Yeah, he's got a new book coming out. He's got one. It's volume 2, and the volume 1 came out a few years ago with a lot of his shots. He's shot all the biggies, So anyway, just
give me his name again.
Rob Shanahan. Little Irish name there, but
hey, my middle name's Patrick.
Yeah.
My grandfather on my mother's side came from Belfast, and there's some an Irish contingent on my father's side as well. So I'm proud of that.
I've got it in there.
Yeah. Unfortunately, they stopped murdering each other, but that was we went out there.
They came over here and married Cherokee women, is what happened. So
nothing wrong with that.
That's probably the smartest thing we've ever done. So
yeah.
So was there any surprises putting this album together? And especially when you're digging out songs that you started piecing together here and there over the years. Was there something as you're putting this album together, you go, holy crap, this is cool, But
yeah, like I said, there was probably, because we record over a long period of time, you tend to forget what songs we've actually recorded and done.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was kind of exciting. There was some really cool blues tunes that, Scott and I would jam on. There's a Howlin' Wolf tune, Chester Burnett. There's a Chuck Berry tune on here. Whoa. And I, Mean Woman Blues. That was the first time I heard that song. Was a B-side of an early Jerry Lee Lewis record.
Mm-hmm.
I remember we were sitting in the living room and just playing. I said, I'd really like to do Mean Woman Blues. And he said, yeah, I always dug that song. And Jerry Lee Lewis, of course, would always change the lyrics. So we have a verse of Jerry Lee's lyrics. But we played it. We didn't want to just copy somebody else's. But then I started playing kind of like a Latin beat, jazz, that kind of thing, and put some percussion down. And I really liked that song. And Brian got to sort of, I think, maybe channeling Carlos Santana. So on that, I say that I don't know if I didn't upset anybody, but Carlos Santana is like not only a beautiful human being, but an incredible guitar player.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's been around a while, hasn't he?
Just a day or two. Yeah. Just a day or two. You know, so he may have a good career ahead of him, right? So
he's got a good career ahead of him. It always has a great band. Always has a fantastic band. Yeah, good looking drummer too.
Yeah, married her. I've interviewed her 2 or 3 times. Yeah. So, so on the album, which, you know, I quit asking artists a long time ago, what's their favorite song? Because it's like asking, you know, what's their favorite child or
right.
But I do ask, which song would you point to as a calling card that if you tell fans or new listeners, hey, if you like this song, you're going to really dig the rest of the album.
We did. Kim Simmons passed away this past December.
Yep.
And we've been friends since, like, obviously when I was in Savoy Brown.
Right.
He gave me my first real job as a musician. But in 76, we became friends again. We were real busy, and he was for about 5 or 6 years. And ever since then, we've crossed paths. He would get up and jam with us. He played on our last studio album, Under the Influence. I invited him down. He played on about 4 songs. Then after we finished the album, we were hanging out, and he said, you know, I'd really like to write some songs for Foghat. And I said, that would be really good. And I said, but you have to play on the record. He said, okay. We had a real good time, you know, playing together. And he sent me 4 songs, his vocals, guitar, and I think like to a click track. Unfortunately, Kim then got ill and couldn't record with us. And but we finished 3 of the songs. We've got a 4th one, which we'll eventually get down to. But I would say She's a Little Bit of Everything. It was one of the songs that Kim wrote for us. And it's like, I claim he was writing it about his wife, Debbie, who's like a really, really cool woman. But I don't know. I think that's what I'll put it down to anyway, because you want to write about somebody you know. And this woman who we're singing about, She's a Little Bit of Everything, is like just that. So was his wife, Debbie. She's a really cool lady. Yeah, I would say that song is the one I really love. But there again, we did a song that my brother wrote the lyrics to, Colin wrote the lyrics to, called I Wish I'd Been There When Hank Williams Came to Town. And that's also one of my favorites, because it's not in my car at the moment. Somebody must have stolen it. I had a Hank Williams CD in my car. You'd play it all the time. No, I mean, Hank Williams, what songs? I mean, great songs. So my brother was a big fan of his music. So that's one of my favorites. Hold on. They're all my favorites. But I think probably that song that Kim wrote for us. And he wrote 2 other songs for us, Driving On, which is about trying to get home from the road to be with the woman you love. They're all about women. What would we do without women? Wouldn't be able to write any songs, would we?
Is this a trick question? You're trying to get me in trouble. So.
Actually, the Rolling Stones have got a new album out. Let's give them a plug too. Yep. Because I mean, I used to go and see them when I was a kid. They're a couple of years older than me. So when I was 16, they'd be 18. But great band. And I always thought that I know it's rock and roll. I know it's only rock and roll, but I like it. I thought that was one of the... Why didn't somebody else come up with that line before? I think it was Ronnie Wood is credited with it. I've read the story. But I mean, what a great line. I know it sounded rock and roll, but I like it. I like it. Yes, I do. I like it.
Simple enough.
Yeah, yeah. Have you listened to that new album? New record?
I've heard a couple of cuts, but not. I haven't taken the time to listen to the whole thing. Yeah, I need to get it because I like physical copies.
Yeah, I know what you mean. That's why our manager, who does the artwork for everything, our manager, it's like there's a story here. Oh no, let me show. There we go. Because I got a copy of the vinyl. So like, there's the story. You know, none of
Very
this
cool.
got like some sort of strange piece of artwork that has nothing to do with the record. So, yeah, there's a story there. We talk about everybody that's on the record.
Mm-hmm.
We talk about our crew and the people who make this thing work for us. You know, we employ 11 people.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. It's like, no wonder we haven't got any money. Once that money, it's all been spent. Now the landlord says he needs the rent. Telephone company's cutting off my phone. Why don't they all just leave me alone? Mailman, stay away from my door. I've got too many bills. I don't need no more. Oh, that's enough singing from you, Roger.
I love seeing the vinyl now because just seeing you open it up, man, that's just like when Slow Ride came out and you open that album, you get to read. I mean, I was one of those nerds that read all the who was behind the board.
Yeah, I was fun too.
Yeah.
I was, and for too long, we didn't have enough stories, I don't think, on our albums. I mean, a couple of them, they're just plain. Our manager at the time was a Beatles fan, and he thought white albums and black albums and blue albums should be. And I remember talking to Dave about it. Like, we should tell the stories on there, and but now I get to do it because
there you go.
Now I have a voice, and the band all says, "Yeah, tell the story, Rog. What are you going to say about me?" Kind words.
Well, you mentioned Kim, and I'd like to get your thoughts on him from a personal level. I've had the privilege of interviewing him a couple times. The last time, of course, was just a few months before he passed. And, so kind. I mean, we didn't know each other. I just talked to him a couple times, right? But he was, the way I was struck by him was just such a deeply and genuinely kind and gracious person. I mean, everybody has an ego, but his seemed to be tucked away, and not as obvious as maybe with some people, or maybe as like by me or something. But I just felt a warmth from him, and just very kind, very gracious. The last time I talked to him was on video, so it's out there on Boomerocity. But I'd like to get your thought. You knew him for a long time. You were in the band with him, like you said, your first paying gig or first big gig as a musician. What are your thoughts on Kim now that he's passed?
He was all those things you said. He was a very genuine person. He was kind and thoughtful. He was a blues musician, as far as I'm concerned, blues guitar player. Mm-hmm. That was the one thing throughout his whole career. It was, he would draw on, what initially made him want to play music. He was, and he would put a record out every year, and that's impressive, for a solo artist. Like, put out a record every year, an album, 8, 10, 12 songs, and that impressed me. And I would always, anytime he put a new record out, I would have it in the car and listen to it, and good stuff. Mm-hmm. And that was one of the things that I think he had such longevity. Also really worked on his vocals really hard, but his songwriting skills were fantastic. In fact, I might go through his CDs and maybe we'll sort of do a tribute to Kim Simmons' album. That's not a bad idea.
I think it'd be great.
Yeah.
A lot of people would love to see that. Really.
Yeah. No, I loved him. He was a good friend. We got after we left Savoy Brown in 1971. Like I said, myself and Lonesome Dave went to see him in around 76. He was playing at a college out here on Long Island, and we went to see him and we hung out, and I invited him back to my place, and got thoroughly loose. I think he stayed over. I think he passed out, but it was a good way to reconnect, and we stayed friends over the years, and eventually he was with the same agency as us, Paradise Artists, and so we got to play together from time to time. I would get in and sit in with his band, and he would get in and sit in with Foghat. It was a healthy relationship. It was a good relationship. There was, one of the things I can honestly say, ever since I've known him, 1967, I think I joined Savoy Brown. I never had cross words with Kim. Never. The closest it came to it was the first album I did with Savoy Brown. There's a song called You Need Love on there. And it was sort of like this sort of, where there would be a bass solo or a drum solo, and it would how we would end the set. And I'm doing the drum solo part, and I drop a drumstick. Now, this is the first album I was on with Savoy Brown. One take, that's all you do. We'd rehearsed, before we got in the studio, one take, and we do all the basic tracks, and sometimes you'd even keep the vocals and lead guitars and stuff, but that would be it. Kim came over to me and said, well, if you don't get it right next time, the song's not going on the record. So nothing like a bit of pressure. But Kim was fantastic to work with. He was a brilliant musician, in my opinion. And I loved working with him. He took it seriously. He didn't take it lightheartedly. He was never like a mess when you, like some people get on stage and they've been drinking or whatever. Kim didn't do that. I played with a hangover. That's not much fun for a drummer.
I can't imagine.
As the song goes, I don't drink as much as I ought to. Yeah, like when I was wild. But yeah, Kim Simmons, he was a good friend, and I miss him. But maybe that's an idea. Maybe I think I've just hit on something there. Yeah. Okay.
Good. I look forward to that one.
Yeah.
So, hey, I want to revert back to Slow Ride about something. I'm putting together a program, and I would love to use something from this interview on it, and that has to do with any stories. Everybody's doing stories behind songs and stuff, but I like to find out anything unique tied to a song, whether it's, the story behind making the song happen, or, the story that inspired the song, or stories after the song comes out where people, something happened, reactions from fans, fan stories to you, anything like that, anything that you might have tied to Slow Ride that you think fans might find interesting or funny.
Well, no, I mean, it is, we close our set, have done every night since its inception with Slow Ride. Basically, the idea came from Rod Priceson, our original lead guitar player, had a house out here in Rocky Point, and we'd had the basement soundproofed. I was living up in Bearsville at the time, but we shared this house. And Tony Stevens had left the band again, and Nick Jameson and I were friends because Nick Jameson had produced a couple of our records, and I said, are you interested in no, I asked him if he'd ever played bass. He said, yeah, it's the first instrument I played. So I said, you want to play with Foghat? And he said, yeah, I'll do that for a year. And anyway, we get down to Long Island and mine and Rod's basement. And again, we're jamming. Dave started off the riff, which is like a John Lee Hooker riff on Slow Ride, but it's played like straight 4/4 instead of like a shuffle. And then we actually did most of the arrangement. Nick was very instrumental in the arrangement of that song. All the parts Nick put together. And Dave said, I've got some words that might fit to that. And hence it was. And then we finished the record up in Sharon, Vermont. And Nick and I finished mixing it. When Nick was mixing it, I would bring in tea and biscuits, but or say something like, "You turn the drums up." No, we had a station wagon back then in 75, I think it was 74, 75. You had station wagons that were worth, they had metal. You could put drum kits and pianos and basses in the back of them, not like the little things they do today. Anyway, we're coming down from there. We get to Bearsville and we take it in to play to Paul Fishkin, who was in charge of Bearsville Records. And it was sort of 7 minutes and 20 seconds long. And Paul says, well, can't do that. Can't have that as a single. Up to this point, the band never picked singles. It was like, that was up to the record company or whatever. Anyway, Nick and I said, no, this is going to be a single. And Paul Fishkin said, well, no, that was 7 minutes long. You can't have a 7 minute. And it's rock and roll, because it was, said, we know that it's rock and roll. We know it's 7 minutes. It's our single. And we put our foot down. It did come out as a single first, full length. And then they edited it down because DJs would edit it anyway. Because, 7 minutes for Foghat? I don't think so. We did do a final edit on it. I think it came down to just over 4 minutes. But yeah, it's a classic. What is Scott Holt introduces it as our industrial love song.
I love it.
Yeah, an industrial love song. And the beginning was Nick Jameson again. He said, just go bang, Rog. What do you mean, go bang? Just bang some stuff. All right. 2 floor toms and a bass drum, Why not start it off like that? In fact, I seem to, on the new record, the drums start off a lot of songs because, when we're writing and playing and getting arrangements down and doing stuff, we have to find like what works with the vocals, the song, the lyrics, get the cadence right and the just the feel, so that the words have to come out. I always think that the rhythm guitar is the most important thing, but there again, the bass player and the drummer would say, no, it's us. There again, the lead singer would say, no, it's me. And the guitar player would say, no, it's me. No, we don't. Actually, Foghat is a band. We've always endeavored to be a band. Whenever we get on stage, it's just the 4 of us. And it's that way now. Everybody gets on really well. It's all about the music. It's all about playing. The rest of the day is like hurry up and wait. Trains, planes, and automobiles. But that hour and a half or whatever we're doing now, that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
And Scott said something really interesting, or I thought was funny actually. He said, I mean, how many jobs can you have where you finished your work and people clap?
That's true.
Yeah, I know. I know how fortunate I am. I really do. And
They clap when I leave, but it's for a totally different reason.
Hey, see you at me.
Yeah. Exactly. You got it. So what's on your radar in the coming months for the next year or so?
We're gonna promote the hell out of this record. We're gonna roll to a roll. We're gonna rock till we drop. We've already got some ideas from today's show, talking with you about what we're gonna do for the next album. In fact, we had well over a dozen songs left over that we didn't think would make it onto the record. I mean, if we did think they'd make it, then we would have made a double album. But no, I think we picked the right ones. And so sometimes it's all, to be objective about something that you've done. When you create music, But with this record, everybody in the band was like, yeah, that's the one. That's the one. I don't know about that. And like I said, we're very much a band. Everybody like has a say because you function as a band when you're up there. It's you rely on the people. And that's one of the beauties of when Lonesome Dave was alive and playing with Dave for so many years. He was always 110%. Even when he was ill, he'd get on, walk on stage, and he would become this rock star. He was great, and he gave it everything he had. I loved him for that.
Cool. So this last question, when you step off the tour bus of life up at the great gig in the sky to borrow from Pink Floyd, how do you want to be remembered, and what do you hope your legacy is? And that's going to be a lot of years from now, by the way. So
no, he banged his way through life.
I love it. Very cool. Very cool. Well, Roger, this was a lot of fun. Thank you for taking the time to talk with me. And man, what an honor it was to talk to you. My door's always open to you. Next project, especially if it's that Kim Simmons album you're talking about. I want to talk to you about anything you got coming out in the future. I do want to get a signed copy. If I can arrange for that, that'd be wonderful.
I can do that.
Okay. I don't care if it's CD or vinyl, either one. If it's vinyl, it's going to join all my other signed records hanging in my office. So
I only have one copy of this vinyl at the moment because I wanted to test it. Sure. And it's fine. You will get a CD.
Okay. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. And I'll cherish it. And please sign it if you don't mind. I would love that. It stays in my collection. I don't sell things that are signed. I keep them. So, but Roger, this is a blast. Again, my door's always open to you. If you want this backdrop, I'll get it emailed over to you or, through the channel there, and you can use it while you're on the road.
So everybody else that you interview, have that backdrop up there. What is that?
You want me to interview and have this backdrop.
Right. Yeah. That should make some people happy.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So, and for a price, I can do that for them too. So, Roger, take care. Stay safe. Stay healthy like you are. And I look forward to catching a show of yours somewhere down the road as well. Okay.
Thanks, Randy. It's been a pleasure talking to you. I enjoyed it.
Likewise. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.